We talk about jealousy. We talk about, you know, wanting to be the best, wanting to be talked about. Part of that, I think, is human nature, where we can be jealous of certain things. We can want to be talked about more, say, hey, look at me. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And when it comes to professional sports, you want your play to do the talking. You want to try to be the best, but sometimes you know where you stand when the more it goes. And sometimes when you're a rookie, it may not necessarily revelate with your mind, but you also have high expectations for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with having high expectations for yourself, the way you see yourself, especially when you first get into the league, especially into the pros. And as time goes on, you'll start to realize where you stand. When we watch former great pro athletes, as soon as they get into the league, and they start to play for a couple of years, they start to realize I'm one of the best. They start to realize what they have to do to just to compete and stay relevant in the pro sport that they are in. The big talk has been about, of course, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA, and Angel Reese. Now, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark go way back, about a year and a half. And when Angel Reese and LSU won the national championship over, and they beat Caitlin Clark and Iowa, it became sort of a rivalry, if you want to call it that, because to me, rivalry is over a long period of time. But it became Caitlin Clark obviously was the best college basketball player in women's sports. Angel Reese, I don't know if you want to proclaim her as the second best, but she was in the conversation because of leading LSU to a national championship. Then the next year deciding to stay at LSU, and they were still in talks to win. And then Iowa went farther than LSU. They had to come back and beat LSU, I believe. So there was always that tension because when Angel Reese beat Caitlin Clark, she turns right to her and does the ring thing, which some have problems with, some don't. I did kind of, but I also get it. But then she didn't celebrate with her teammates, like this weird dynamic. So then you start to hear about, is Angel Reese like the bad guy in college basketball? Is that going to translate to the WNBA? And she proclaims that she has no problem being like the villain and doing those things. And sometimes pro sports does need that person, I guess. But she has also made comments about, what people say about her and everything. Well, you're the one that's kind of portraying this bad girl look, whatever you want to call it. So there was always that tension, I guess, back and forth. The draft comes. Obviously, Caitlin Clark goes first overall. There's no question about it because she can shoot. She can drive to the basket. Once she gets stronger, her defense is going to also increase. Has put up good numbers already in the WNBA. But we continue to talk about what's been going on with the cheap shots that Caitlin Clark has taken. I do want to say that, Angel Reese did take a clothesline, and that clothesline was uncalled for. And to defend Caitlin Clark, I also have to defend Angel Reese, and that clotheslining does not belong. It's one thing to box out and they end up going flying, but it's another when you're going to take your forearm and put it over somebody's neck. To me, that part should not be there, and you can call me soft for that. But if we're going to defend Caitlin Clark on that, I do think we have to defend Angel Reese in that clothesline is not there. What hurts Angel Reese is if she wants to portray this bad girl persona, it's going to come with a lot of flack. It's going to come with a lot of talk about it. And the look it doesn't look good when Caitlin Clark gets, hip checked when she's not even looking, when the play's not even going on, like the ball is out of bounds. She's waiting for the ball to get inbounded, and that's what you do. And she stood up and was like cheering. So you could tell that there is that jealous. I think there's jealousy. I don't think she likes Caitlin Clark. And again, this is the outside looking in. Caitlin Clark could be a person that says things and people maybe don't like her. Uh, we continue to talk about jealousy and, you know, liking people and everything else. The question becomes, does Caitlin Clark's teammates like her because they talk about they need an enforcer to step up to protect her? And if the next time this happens and the teammates don't do that, is there more going on about why people are treating Caitlin Clark this way? But there's no question that more eyeballs have been brought to the WNBA. I think this has happened over time. There are some great WNBA basketball players out there. It's brought more attention. It's being talked about more on sports shows. It's being talked about on podcasts. It's been talked about on social media. The big turning point is who is like responsible, right? For some reason, that's the topic. And I personally think that you're watching a phenom like Caitlin Clark in college, they're going to watch the WNBA more because they want to see if her talents can now transcend into the WNBA and continue to do those things. I did an episode on that. Can she live up to these crazy expectations that are set forth to her by the fans and the media? So to me, from the observant person, that's why. I know for me, it's because I want to see what Caitlin Clark's doing. This When this happens, this brings frustrations. This brings animosity. This can bring obviously jealousy. It can turn into hatred, but I don't know if we got quite and like confrontation, but I don't know if we've quite gotten to that spot yet. But what happens is then you're going to have players say, well, I've been here for a while. Why are we not talking about me? Then you're going to have people that do what they're doing now and say, welcome to the league. And they're going to do these hard fouls, which some hard fouls I think are okay, but you also cannot do anything to put the health of the person in jeopardy of it's okay, bumps, bruises, soreness, physicality, all that stuff, but you can't put somebody in a position to be hurt. And especially in basketball where you're not protected by any sort of padding, like in football, we got the helmets and shoulder pads and everything. So I don't think that that belongs in the WNBA, NBA. Be physical and everything else to make sure that the other team earns a win if they beat you. Um, so I think the overall is that people are watching more. The eyes are more to the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark overall. But I would think in turn, you bring eyeballs to her, you watch games that she's in, you're going to see the other athletes. And if you're a new viewer, an occasional viewer, just once in a huge, great while viewer, you would think that watching that, then you get to see the other great athletes and go, well, wait a minute, she's good, she's good, she's good. And then that starts to be talked about her. So it's just slowly, it's a process. And this is a process begun before Caitlin Clark, and that it starts to grow it, and you start to see, and boom, 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 boom. Going back to the rivalry of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese had some comments about why people are watching the WNBA more. And we're going to listen to it here in just 1 second. She tends to think that people are watching the WNBA because of her, but because of her too, not just one person, but that's the biggest reason why. So we're going to listen to what Miss Angel Reese had to say about her comments about the WNBA.
It all started from the national championship.
Give me 1 second. We're going to fix it right up. We're having audio issues. How embarrassing. This is horrible radio. I apologize. This is live, raw, and uncut, so we don't have time to edit it out. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. We're going to listen to Miss Angel Reese and her comments about why people watch the WNBA.
It all started from the national championship game, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. And understanding, like, yeah, negative things have probably been said about me, but honestly, I'll take that because look where women's basketball is. People are talking about women's basketball, but you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to games. We got celebrities coming to games, sold out arenas, like just because of one single game. And just looking at that, like I'll take that role. I'll take the bad guy role, and I'll continue to take that on and be that for my teammates. And if I want to be that, and I know I'll go down in history, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person; it's because of me too. And I want y'all to realize that it all started from the national.
So, couple things there to unpack about her comments. So, she believes that people are watching the WNBA because of her and not because of one person, but also because of her also. And so we're going to try to reread. I want to make sure I have the exact quotes right here. So she says that it all started with the national championship game, and that's what kind of brought more attention to women's college basketball. A part of that is true. Let's keep going, though. She says she's been dealing with this for 2 years, basically saying, why people are watching Caitlin Clark over her. So we obviously know that obviously the rivalry. Sorry, we're back on track here. She said the reason why we're watching women's basketball is not because of one person; it's because of me too. I want you all to realize that. It's not just because of one person. A lot of us have done so much for the game. Chandy has been here before previously. Obviously, there are so many great players in this league and that deserve this attention for a really, really long time. Luckily, it's coming now. So we get the viral clip of saying, they're watching basketball because of me too, but then she goes on to talk about other players. And so to unpack this comment, a lot of people are leaning towards she's right, 100% right. People are leaning towards she's wrong, 100% wrong. I'm going to say that she's about 30% right and 70% wrong. And this is what I mean by that. She's not necessarily wrong because there are some fans that are going to turn into the Chicago Sky because they liked watching the way she played. They think she brings a toughness to the game. They're going to watch. If they've been a fan, they're going to watch because of watching her. There are, like I said, there are some other fans out there that I've watched for longer than maybe I have or other people have, and they have their team, they have their players, so they've been watching, so that's what they're going to watch. The hype become of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. That's why they're going to watch. But did you notice that last sentence, what I said there? Because of Angel Reese, but because of Caitlin Clark, right? So then it's like you can't have one without the other. So that's why her comments are correct. But when you look at attendance records and viewerships, more people are tuning in and going to an Indiana Fever game than they are a Chicago Sky game. Caitlin Clark, when she goes to games, there's fans of the other team that are wearing Caitlin Clark stuff because Caitlin Clark has set the college basketball world ablaze with the stats and what she's doing and breaking the scoring record and stuff like that. But make no mistake, people are tuning in more because of Caitlin Clark. But I also think that that would be a good thing because if she's bringing more eyeballs to the WNBA, that would expose more of an Angel Reese and other players and everything else. So when you listen to these comments, I think it's a lot of mixed emotions in there. I think it's a lot of mixed emotions of she wants to be talked about because she says, I will take on the villain role. And I feel like that she wants to be talked about, right? She wants the spotlight. She's done photo shoots and everything else. So I think that she wants all that attention. So I think when she's not getting it, it bothers her. Number two, I truly think she believes that people are tuning in to only watch and bring more eyeballs because of her. Now, I know she tries to walk back the comment by talking about other players. I respect that. But when you first say because of me too, why can't the first comment just be people are watching the WNBA because of all of us great athletes and the great athletes before us? Like if you kept the comments to that, I think there'd be a different talk and much more respect and understanding. But the fact that you said because of me too, and then try to walk it back and say not because of one player. So those comments come from this little hatred intense between her and Caitlin Clark. And again, this is the observant outside looking in. Does Caitlin Clark do things in the locker room or what she says? Do people not like her? Have no clue. This is kind of that tension piece. So to me, it looks more like jealousy and wanting the attention. And those are not good traits to have, especially as a pro athlete. And I think it's frustrating to them because they feel like they're playing well, but Caitlin Clark is putting up good numbers. We previously talked about her numbers on the last time I've talked about. If you look at Angel Reese stats as she's been with the Chicago Sky, she does not have bad stats. But the problem is it's in a way that's not as flashy as Caitlin Clark. So I know it's not fair, but life is not fair. She averages 10.9 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 1.8 assists, and 1.1 steals. And nobody's saying that she's not a good basketball player. It's just not the flashiness that the today's fans are used to. If you compare it to the NBA, people love the high flying 3-point shooting, especially when the Warriors started to do it. People forget like the 2009 to 2012 ish, I believe those years, like the Orlando Magic shooting threes and everything else, high flying and everything. The Phoenix Suns, the fast pace, like that's what started. But we remember, the 90s, you still had a post guy. We watched Shaq, we watched Alonzo Mourning, even a little bit of Dwight Howard, even though he's not as good as those other guys. Angel Reese kind of brings that where, I'm gonna try to block you. I'm gonna score in the paint. Caitlin Clark is the person that's gonna shoot, drive, be a little bit more flashy. So it may not be fair, but Angel Reese, if you haven't learned by now, you know, life's not fair. And so you as a professional athlete, if there's this jealousy, animosity of to why is it, you know what? Take a page out of Kobe Bryant's playbook and just put your head down and say, okay, well, I'm going to work, and they're going to learn, and they're going to work. I'm going to keep my comments. Like, you got to realize that these comments are always going to have consequences, especially now that you're in the pros. So make no mistake, people are tuning in for the WNBA more because of Caitlin Clark. So we cannot forget that. So we have to remember that jealousy is a horrible thing. It's a human nature. We all have it. It will show its head at some point. So make no mistake that we are watching more because of Caitlin Clark, but a small part of it is we are watching other players too. But to me, if I were her, this would be a good thing to bring more eyeballs to the WNBA. So make no mistake about any of that. Um, Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow and rate on Apple and iTunes and Spotify. Um, X Coach underscore Steve 72, the Coach Steve Show, Instagram. Same thing, Coach Steve 72, Coach Steve Show, TikTok, Coach Steve 72 as well. Check out all the affiliates in the description below. Check out all the other videos. Leave a comment in the comment section down below about what you think about the comments made and is there any factual evidence to them and everything. Thanks everybody so much. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.